telling these women that any leakage is okay or normal. Like, that's not okay.
I want to talk about a subject that women find really, really difficult to talk about. And I know it takes women the average of years and years and years admit to that. Incontinence, both of urine and fecal incontinence,
Yep.
is so much more common. So for anyone listening, if you have this problem, you're actually in a very silent but large group of women
2 in 3,
who
right?
are absolutely struggling with this. Can we talk a little bit about the different types of urinary incontinence and a little bit about fecal incontinence
Yep.
and what we might be able to do about that?
So research shows 2 in 3 women will experience this at some stage. So it's absolutely like very, very common. So let's start with urinary incontinence. The main and the most common type that we deal with is stress urinary incontinence. That happens when you get it's called intra-abdominal pressure pushing down onto the pelvic floor, and the pelvic floor is not strong enough to counteract that pressure. So it's almost like you can't control and you start to leak. That can happen when you're jumping or sneezing or coughing or dancing or whatever it is you're doing. It's normal. Laughing. Yeah. The next is urgency incontinence. And a good way to explain this would be when you need to wee, you got to wee and you got to go really quickly. And sometimes you might leak on the way to the bathroom. So remember how before I said normally you should release your bladder within, 10 to 15 minutes of that first initial stage. Women that have urgency incontinence, they tend to get a signal to their brain that's like, I need to wee, and they've got like 10 seconds max before they start leaking. And you can also have a mixture of both. So combined incontinence, which is stress and urgency smushed together into one nice little package.
What a gift.
What a gift. And then the other type is, as you mentioned, fecal incontinence. And it's a really similar mechanism to urinary incontinence because your pelvic floor wraps around your bowel like a framework too. So it kind of does the same thing. If it can't grip tight and turn it off like a tap, then you're going to have issues with leaking poo. But on the other end of the spectrum is if it's too tight, then you're going to have issues with constipation. So your poo can tell us a lot about what's going on with your pelvic floor. Both of these are really, really common, but absolutely not normal. And actually, one thing that I try and debunk in clinic fairly, women who will call me and be like, oh, I don't know if I'm the right patient because like I definitely don't have incontinence. I only just occasionally leak if I'm sneezing. And I'm like,